The Game Boy Advance SP is one of my favourite handhelds to mod. There's lots of amazing backlit screen kits you can install, loads of different eye-catching shells to replace your old one, and it works with Game Boy, Game Boy Color games, as well as of course Game Boy Advance games. There's even more mods that you can squeeze in there if you're up to the challenge, such as this headphone socket, and yes, Nintendo were way ahead of Apple when it comes to removing this feature from their hardware. Most of all though, I love its clamshell form factor, folding away for storage or transport and then opening up when it's time to play. Now this is all thanks to its clever hinge design. However, it's the removal of these hinges that often makes dismantling these consoles a frustrating task for modders. Hi and welcome back to the shed. I'm Joe Bleeps, and this little tool here is likely to make removing the hinges from a Game Boy Advance SP a process that's now a little less likely to end up with you throwing a broken console into the bin with a bleeding hand. If you've ever attempted removing these hinges before, you'll know what I mean. Now, I've always found this process difficult, which is why I've designed this tool, which is free to download, easy to print, and makes the whole process of removing the hinges so much easier. Now, there is a bit of a knack to using it, but it's very straightforward once you get the hang of it, and I'll walk you through it later in the video. So, this is the tool, but how does it work? Let's take a look. To remove the hinges in the Game Boy Advance SP, there's two of them. We're going to call these parts hinge barrels. You need the screen to be opened up to just the right angle in order for it to line up correctly and slide these out. But before you do that, you need to somehow get 4 plastic retaining clips out of the way before you start pushing that hinge barrel out to the side with all your pressure at a really awkward angle. So it's very easy to be pushing the hinge out with a screwdriver 1 minute and be bandaging up your hand the next. Don't ask me how I know. Having a dedicated tool to help with this is nothing new. It's already been explored by Game Boy modding legend Marco, particularly with the use of a funnel type shape used to pinch the clips together before pushing out the hinge barrel. He's made the 3D printable file of his design freely available and has made videos on here about how to use it, both of which I'll link in the description. So it's a quick, easy print, it's a handy tool, and it does the job pretty well. However, I still found it a little bit fiddly to use. I found it difficult to get my fingers in at the right angle and hold it steady and push it out. So this inspired me to design my own tool to find an easier way of doing things the easy way. I used a free browser-based 3D modeling software called TinkerCAD to design the model, taking dimensions from the console parts using my measuring calipers, and then exporting the final designs as an STL file before 3D printing each iteration, ready for testing, evaluating, tweaking, and yes, reprinting. I made my way through plenty of prototypes exploring positioning, grip, ergonomics, print time, durability, and ease of use, until I found a tool that worked well for removing both hinges. Now, the hinges are positioned differently on each side, and for removal they each need approaching in a slightly different way. I did explore the possibility of a tool with a removal part on each end, one for the right hinge and one for the left, but I eventually refined it to a single design that works pretty well for both hinges. Now, with the model laid on its side, I used a slicing software called Cura to prepare the model for printing, and then printed it off on my FLSun QQS Pro Delta printer because it's nice and quick. However, I got excellent results printing it on my Ender 3 V2 also. In any case, I'd recommend using an FDM printer like this, using PLA at the very least. Something like PETG or ABS would probably result in a more durable tool. However, settings would need to be tweaked, and I found PLA Plus to be perfectly usable. I would avoid using a resin printer because the plastic just isn't really durable enough under the pressures that you'll be applying to it. It's a quick enough print and also a small enough part that you could always have a new tool ready to use each time you start a new project, much like using a spudger, because it will withstand a little bit of wear and tear, but ultimately it's going to wear out because it's a plastic tool. So that's the designing and printing process covered, but how do I actually use this tool? So first, you'll want to tackle the left hinge. It's the trickier of the two, but leaving the other hinge in place at this point actually keeps the structure a bit more stable. It makes it easier to do. Open up the hinge to 90 degrees first and insert the tool. Ensure that the edge of that kind of funnel shape grabs the plastic clips that are furthest away, and with gentle pressure applied, move the tool towards the other 2 clips and sort of hook the edge of the tool around them so that all those tabs are covered. Then simply apply pressure and the hinge barrel should partially pop out of the frame. If you open the hinge further to its natural resting point and use the tool to push out the barrel fully, you can easily retrieve the barrel with your fingers. Then onto the right hinge, lay the tool flat on the surface of the console, line up the tool with the hinge barrel and repeat that sort of grab and hook maneuver to contain the clips and align the tool with the barrel socket. Again, apply pressure and it should pop straight out. With the hinge barrels removed, you can simply separate the two parts of your console and then use those hinges in a new shell. To reinsert, you need to align those two plastic parts so that the profile of the hole matches the shape of the barrel. If you're using the original part, black's on the left and white is on the right. Third-party hinges vary a bit more, but if at all possible, I would use the original parts for this. They're so much better. Alignment isn't actually that difficult. Simply make sure the screen is set to its normal open angle and you can see it from the side. Then line up the slots on the barrels with the bumps in the hole and push it in until it clicks. All done. So that's it, a simple tool that makes a frustrating job so much easier. I've uploaded the printable file to a website called printables.com, so you can go and find it there. I'll leave a link in the description. If you do print one, let me know. I want to know how people get on with these things. So I initially uploaded a YouTube short with a quick demonstration of this tool after I'd printed it, but I thought a little in-depth look at the development process might be quite interesting. Now, I spent a lot of time modifying and tweaking and testing this design, and although it's a long process, I enjoy it. I enjoy that gradual way of getting towards something that you actually want to achieve, and indeed that sense of achievement when you've finished and knowing that you can then share that design and other people will greatly benefit from it. I think that's a really nice feeling, and hopefully that process has been evident in the video. Another thing is you get to see just how long it takes me to get something like this to work. Things like this very rarely work right first time, and you do need to go through a number of stages to refine an idea to something that you are happy with. And that's fine, that's normal, that's the process, and the process is the fun part. Don't forget that. But now I've got this tool, next time I modify a Game Boy Advance SP, I can almost look forward to changing the hinges. Almost. So, thanks for watching. If this is your first time here, thanks for sticking around all the way to the end. And if you've been here before, welcome back. In either case, if you give it a like, leave a comment, subscribe, sign up for notifications, share it with anybody you think might be interested, it's really going to help me grow this channel and I would massively appreciate it. And while you're here, why not check out some more of my videos? I've got plenty on my channel and there should be a couple popping up here, especially chosen by YouTube, that they think you might like, so take a look. So this is Joe Bleeps and a really handy little piece of kit signing off from the shed. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.